Yes. Yes, actually.
Or no, Pop-Tarts.
Both.
We both
actually.
like
Go to Itaewon and pick those up for us. Now, FlaSh, 279 and 110, 13 and 7. Currently tied in first place with all those 13. He's up there. And he's 4 and 5 against Protoss. He's had some trouble in the matchup in the past. He's taken some good games, and there have been some nasty ones.
Yep. And he could be the first one to overcome that big group of 13ers. Here we have Swagger. He's only played 3 games, none against Terran, but he is 1 and 2.
He's 49 and 60 overall in his StarCraft 1 career, combined with StarCraft 2. So you could say he was 48 and 58 before coming into Pro League this season with his team for the first time. This guy is probably most commonly known as Songho, because that's the ID that he used in Broodor, which is actually his name. And he's used other IDs like Killer, Baby Bye Bye, and what was he using? What was his first ID that he had? He had some other ID too. I can't remember what it was in the very beginning of StarCraft 2, but it's time. FlaSh versus Killer here at the SPL.
LTA는 SK텔레콤.
Up here in the top right on merry-go-round. In the red for KT Rolster, it's FlaSh.
And to the top left, Songho, Killer, Baby Bye Bye, Swagger.
And just a cool guy in general.
He is pretty nice. He's much younger than he looks.
How old is he?
I think he's 1 year younger than me, so I think 1991, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
I think so.
I'm the same age as Killer.
I think so.
That's a thing.
If I'm not mistaken.
I did not know that.
By the way, notice that KT is 3-0 on this map and MVP is 0-2. That's a small little stat. Another stat I'll give you guys going into this is that there's only been 1 PVT here, and Protoss won.
Uh-oh, FlaSh. You're behind on the stats.
Yeah. You can see FlaSh is 4-1 in recent 5 games. That's pretty impressive. And Killer, on the other hand, of course, same stats we said earlier, 1 and 2, is he's not even quite played 5 games yet.
Yeah.
FlaSh going for a Barracks first here, looks likely to go Reaper expand.
Yeah. If I knew anything about FlaSh, even before the game started, I would have said that he was going to go for that build.
Yeah. He sometimes does crazy things with this. Like, he's the only Terran player who really will ever make a 3rd Reaper. He pretty much always makes 2. Sometimes he even like makes a reactor first and makes 2 Reapers. No one else is really doing that. We've seen Byung do it like once, and Innovation do it like twice. But generally speaking, FlaSh is the one who likes to do that. The Reapers come in at kind of a funny timing. And you do have a fast reactor that way. When you're vulnerable to some sort of early aggression, some cheeses, excuse me, that might come your way. We'll see what build FlaSh has in store here. Now, in this matchup, I feel like FlaSh has some late game weaknesses. He oftentimes gets so ahead in the early game that it doesn't matter what happens next, and he just wins off of that advantage. And whether it's an economic advantage, like we had in Wings of Liberty for him, or in Heart of the Swarm, he just does so much damage with you know, some of these drops that he's good at, some of these pressure plays. That's usually how he wins the matchup. But if it goes late game, he's not that good with Ghosts, I would say. He's also, one of the weaknesses I've noticed about FlaSh ever since the beginning of his StarCraft 2 career in this matchup is he struggles to make the balance between Ghosts and Vikings, which is so important. You can't make too many Vikings or too many Ghosts, because then you don't have the proper ratio, the proper counter to actually deal with the Colossi or the High Templar, which at the late game, the end game, you have to be able to deal with both appropriately.
Yeah, Terran's always having a very hard time with that. It's hard to really get the composition down, the micro down for those fights. On the other hand, we haven't really seen so much of Swagger here. I feel so weird calling him Swagger. I'm just
You can just call him Killer, because like that's what everybody normally calls him.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We haven't really seen much out of Killer. I think he did like 1 weird cheese build one time, but the other 2 were just like a couple of just regular macro games. I think he won 1 and lost 1.
He does sometimes some like crazy builds with Warp Prisms, like Zealot Immortal.
That's what I think of when I think of Killer here.
He was the guy who like pretty much always in Protoss versus Protoss, he was like the only player in the GSL where you would just be like sure he was going to Warp Prism 4-gate you on Metalopolis. Like, it was a certainty. There was no mystery. It was just like, okay, well, it's Protoss versus Killer, so I just need to make sure I have my Stalkers on my main base, because when that Warp Prism comes in, he's going to do a Warp Prism 4-gate on close air spawns, like, every time. I'm ready for it. It's okay. He really popularized that pull out of gas 2 Immortal Mass Zealot PvZ build that he almost beat Lenok with in a very pivotal GSTL match. Actually, that was Code A, I think it was, but regardless, he was doing that for a while. He was really good at that. He does sometimes funny timings, but if you get this guy in the late game, he's quite good at it. We've seen it ever since like 2011. He's been pretty solid in the late game, sometimes skipping Templar entirely and going just pure Archons with his Colossi.
Yeah, he's a guy that I feel like if he just like, I feel like he tries to be a little bit too weird sometimes, and if he just played like a straight up game and tried to take it late, he would win a lot more. But to be honest, he doesn't get played too much here, and we haven't seen him play, at least in Pro League here, against Terran. And as far as I know, I don't think he's playing anywhere else really. So I'm really excited to see this game and how he does against FlaSh, because, you know, it's a big test, a huge player here in FlaSh.
Well, you know, he's actually so far this game playing very much late game oriented. At least that's what it looks like so far. He's going into +1 armor. He's getting his Twilight Council so he can go to +2 armor. Now, with Killer, you can never count out that +2 Charge Zealot Archon timing attack. We might see that from him. Definitely a possibility. He's adding just a few gates right now, though. I think he's just going to keep probing up for a little bit. If he sees blood in the water, he might go for it. Nice probe kill here by FlaSh. FlaSh, on the other hand, already has his +1 attack. He had a very fast eBay. He's getting his armor up right now. His medevacs are coming out a little bit slower, but they're not too far off. It looks like he wants to save this probe this time. Seeing 2 probes move out like that, he might start getting a little bit suspicious. Why are you moving that probe out? What is the plan here? Trying to take a third base, or are you trying to attack me?
FlaSh keeps putting that Reaper over there towards that third base, and it's went there twice. But now, I mean, we're seeing the Dark Shrine go down, so I feel like this is definitely going to be something sneaky here. I
think he's going to hide a Nexus, too. He has something to the south. Could also just be what is probe that he's going to go for, you know, a forward pylon from a weird angle that's not actually expected. It was at that base down to the south, almost like he was considering dropping a hidden base. Oh, I think this is going to be found by that Marine.
Yeah,
he doesn't have any other pylons.
Sees it. He knows something's going on here. And this probe is going to be killed. Very nice job there at a FlaSh, putting out that Marine to stop that probe.
Still doesn't have a whole lot of detection. He has a turret in the main base, but nothing at the natural, no wall. No wall at the top of the ramp either to go into his main base. So, yeah, you have a turret in the main. If DTs go into your main and you have to scan and you miss them, and then the DT just focuses down your turret, then, well, it doesn't matter that you had a turret in the main base. Combat shield's coming up here, so that's going to line up pretty soon. But before that, a DT will one-shot a Marine. Yeah. The armor is also nearly completing as well, so that's also something to consider. But you know what? I like Killer's position here, because even though he's going to you know, not do a massive amount of damage, I would say, with this, he's going to force FlaSh to use a lot of scans and keep him off his back. And there's no way FlaSh can actually punish him with an attack while there are DTs on the map. And he could take a third base here. So he is going to have the detection ready now. He's seen this.
Yeah. I think he did put down a scan there and get the vision, knowing that the DTs are on the way. And he wanted to put on the pressure with the +1 armor and the combat shields, but just moving back once he got that. Going to start his +2 as well as some vehicle upgrades now for his Vikings. Going to do a lot better against those Colossi, as they do hit twice. Now just sitting back, putting up a bunch of bunkers. I think he's scared here, because he sees no third base. He has a Marine over here at the one to the north, the possible third base location, one down to the south. And he still sees no third base.
Yeah. He's like, it must be that Charge Zealot timing. It looks like Killer might actually be planning on hitting with Colossi and Charge Zealots, but his +2 armor is like really late here, and he is getting it, which is another indicator that he's probably not going to do an all-in here, because why would he get the armor otherwise?
That Observer moving into an interesting position. I think he wants to go into the main base. He's got to be careful of that missile turret, but I'm not sure if you saw the army moving out here. He is positioning his army down towards the bottom towards his natural there, but now moving back into the main base.
Let's see if he get those Colossi hits that he wants. As it's a mostly Marine army right now, 30-10, Marine to Marauder. There's 6 Vikings on the map, soon to be 8, with these next 2 finishing. Ghost Academy is coming up as preparing for that transition into the Storm Tech. Or transition into the Ghosts for the Storm Tech, the counter. And neither of these players are content to take a 3rd base. They feel with the armies that are out on the map, it's just too risky.
Yeah, it's been a very passive game right from the start. I mean, the Reaper's doing most of the damage here. Even the Dark Templar that came out didn't really do much at all. I mean, he's got one on the map now. He's moving around the map trying to find some units out there. And maybe come all the way around from the right there. You guys see that one little teal dot slowly moving around, but...
Yeah, this DT is over here. It's just checking for hidden bases. As soon as he saw that he was scanned, he did not send a single DT to harass because he knew it wasn't going to be worth it. And look at this. Perfectly timed, just coincidentally. Could kill the SCV. Yep, there's the cancel. And, oh, might actually save the SCV this time. Funny as it is, I think he should. Looks like he might not have a scan ready because he just scanned the natural to see the composition.
And you know, he's drawing out the army here towards that 3rd base with that 1 Dark Templar. So now Swagger feeling good to move out into the middle of the map.
He's spotted, though, by this watchtower. That's really important that FlaSh holds that. And that DT is going to come over and deny the base again. Turret's not ready. Oh, I really wish you guys could see this. And stops the turret, forces a scan. Doesn't actually kill the base or force a cancel on it yet, but there's no SCV over here nearby, so it's pretty significantly delayed. Still a pretty good ratio here, Colossi to Marines. There are a few Marauders being added back in, but I think this is going to come down to positioning. Who has the better concave, who has the better splitting? The Vikings, there's 12 of them to 4 Colossi, so 3-to-1 ratio is pretty decent, but it's all about the engage. He needs to be able to target those properly. He cannot let his Vikings get caught. The same to be said of Killer's Colossi, because that's not a terrible ratio either with this many Marines on the map. Yeah. Upgrades are actually better now for Killer, 2-2 to 2-1, and he's going to engage off of this.
Here he goes, a blink forward up to the north, and now a ton of charged zealots pushing back this army, but you know, the Stalker's not doing too much damage to those Vikings, and the Colossi not getting too many hits. A lot of these zealots going down very, very fast to so many Marines now.
Yeah, there was no targeting whatsoever with the Colossi on the Marines, so Killer just 1-8 and watched it. That's what it felt like there.
That's what it looked like.
He definitely did micro his Stalkers to target down the Vikings, but his Colossi needed to be right-clicking on the Marines to make sure they did their maximum damage, and he didn't do that. And now suddenly he's lost his Colossi. The Marine count didn't really stumble there at all, and then FlaSh is going to have +3 attack on those Marines. He has a 3rd base up. It is mining. Shields are completing right now for Killer, so that's a little bit more upgrades, a little bit more defense for his Colossi against the Vikings. And let me check the Viking count. Did he kill all of them? All but 1. So there's not that many Vikings left on the map, obviously. So that means that the 2 Colossi that are here are still kind of annoying. It looks like he's going to use Dark Templar to make Archons.
Yeah, not the most efficient there, but...
Well, I mean, it just depends on what you define as efficient, I guess, because...
It really depends on what stage in the game you are with your gas and your minerals.
Yeah, I think he's like, well, I don't want to sink all my gas into this right now. I'd rather have a little bit more of a mixture.
Yeah. Not feeling good about this game here for Swagger. He took a very, bad engagement there, and now FlaSh, he has a bunch of ghosts in this army. He's remaking his Viking count.
The targeting has to be like twice as good, or actually, I mean, really, there was not a whole lot of targeting with those Colossi, so he has to target, is basically what I'm saying here. If he doesn't do it, honestly, with 20 Marauders on the map now, I don't think it even is going to matter. That's just too much. It's too much tankiness. That's too much damage output, too many hit points.
And now FlaSh sees that he's putting some money into this 3rd Nexus that he's going to have a hard time defending, and FlaSh definitely wants to put on the hurt here. He wants to put on the aggression.
He's not confident, though. I think he's still a little bit concerned about those Colossi. There are no storms out just yet. He's got a lot of ghosts, but Killer is not going down that tech path. The ghosts are going to be great, of course, against the Archons anyways, and any other Protoss unit they can hit, but not a whole lot of damage output coming from the ghosts in this. Is he just going to pull his SCVs?
This I like. He's gotten a big advantage now. He's going to have these SCVs in the front to tank.
Let's see. Killer can defend this. He needs to have all of his Zealots at the front. He needs to have his Colossi split. He needs to target. FlaSh pre-splits before he attacks here. Scan reveals that Observer. And here we go. 6 Ghosts in this mix. Where are the EMPs? Great time warp there, but I just think this might be too much Terran Army. The Colossi, though, this time they're getting their hits off the way they'd like to, but there's just way too much. It's just, like I said, that tankiness and that damage output on the Marauders. Enough Vikings here, and Killer is dead.
Killer's dead. We saw him sign the booth, and the Protoss supply just plummeted in that fight. FlaSh just having too big of an advantage here. Now just going to go into the natural. Killer looking sad.
So it does look sad. Still got some swagger, but not going to win it.
He's always going to have swagger, regardless of if he loses.
Yeah, the last of the probes here at the natural are being targeted down. And he's going to have to type out GG. FlaSh ties it up. 1-1.
Well, he got our vote.
He did. All 5 of us unanimously deciding that he had a pretty hefty advantage.
Yeah. FlaSh also taking off his shoes when he plays. Had to put them back out, and now he's like, oh, that was easy. That was okay.
You know, Killer had some really good moments in this game. I feel like his biggest weakness was not targeting his Colossi on those Marines. And if he had done that a little bit better, I think that he could have turned the game around, could have gotten better upgrades, taken a 3rd base. If he wins that fight, taking a 3rd base is no longer this crazy risky thing. It's totally reasonable, and you know, I'd go as far as to say easy to take after he takes that fight. He takes Storm, he can start